This is a CBC podcast.
Well, as you've been hearing in the news, all workers in BC will soon be able to take paid time off for COVID-related reasons. The province will give workers up to 3 days of paid sick leave and will reimburse employers up to $200 per day for each employee. Kathleen Connolly is Executive Director of the Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce, and she says the program is long overdue.
Personally and professionally, I think that our government has done the best they can under extraordinary circumstances. It's unfortunately that the federal government didn't sort of jump in and get this under control, months ago. But it is what it is. We're where we are today, and it does create assurances for those employees, especially those that don't get paid sick leave and are coming to work and not feeling well. I think that's great. I think in terms of the long rollout, we've seen rollout issues with other programs that the government has put out around some of the grant and loan programs, and there's been a delay in getting that out. But the resources are coming out, and I think that that's the most important message, is that people aren't being forgotten, businesses aren't being forgotten.
That's Kathleen Connolly, Executive Director of the Dawson Creek Chamber of Commerce. Joining me now is Carly Faulkner. Carly owns the 37 Grill restaurant. She had to close that restaurant in Kitwanga earlier this year. Now she's opened a new location at the Skeena Valley Golf and Country Club in Terrace, and Carly joins us with an update this morning. Hi there.
Hi.
So it's been a big year for you and your business, Carly. How did the pandemic affect your restaurant and your staff?
Oh, it was like a light switch went off, right? It was really hard because our seasonal it starts around March, runs through to October. So last spring we were just gearing up to get going. So it was really hard to try to determine and watching everything that was kind of happening kind of long distance, down in other countries and down in the States and things like that, and kind of wondering, how is it going to affect us here? Once the borders closed and those things happened fairly quickly, then the restrictions started happening within Canada and within our province, the traveling restrictions. It was a tough decision last year to, close up ahead of the government announcement. We're in an isolated community, so it was one of those decisions that I wanted to make prior to the government shutting us down. So the staff, I could only run with I went only strictly to takeout, could only run with a very small staff at that point, just didn't know how the business was going to be. And it was enough to keep the lights on and make sure things were paid and things like that, but it was certainly a struggle financially.
Yeah, and still a lot of uncertainty today with no in-person dining services. But when it comes to the people who have worked for you and work for you now, how far do you think this legislation goes in terms of addressing the needs of your current employees?
I think it was excellent. I know that maybe there's some out there that feel that some of these things, I agree with the lady that was just on from the Chamber of Commerce. Some things have taken a little while, but this is something that we've never faced before. So to try to do everything at once and to make everybody happy, we have to look at all the industry, all the different types of businesses, people, all the needs of every person out there within Canada, across the board. I think the government's done really well in providing resources. It may not, frustrating sometimes to access them and things like that, but this particular announcement, I think, is going to be beneficial and probably should have been done even prior to COVID.
I understand, actually, that in a sense you were doing this before the government announcement, and you were offering your employees paid leave back at the beginning of the pandemic. This, as you said, there was so much uncertainty, and you were wondering how to keep the lights on.
Yeah. Well, beginning of March, like I said, as we could see kind of things, was watching very closely because, of course, I'm in that industry that is greatly affected and was going to be greatly affected by this pandemic. So I just wanted to kind of preemptively assist my staff in making those decisions to be able to stay home if they felt ill and not be financially affected in a great way. Now, it's hard as a business. It is an extra cost, but if they were working, we'd be paying them anyway. So in my mind, I'd rather have them at home safe and being able to make that decision without being too affected financially. So, it was really important that, being conscious of how the public and our staff are affected at times like, seasonal flus and viruses. And then with COVID-19, we just felt our responsibility was to implement the appropriate measures to keep everybody safe as possible. I have a vulnerable person at home too with, underlying medical conditions. My kids are in school and high school and things. So there was so much unknown last year. We didn't know in the coming weeks or months ahead how it was really going to affect everybody. And I just felt like it was really important to make sure that we kept everybody safe.
And now, a year later, and the new site for 37 Grill, I understand you've only been open for a couple of days. What are you hoping for this year?
Well, we're opening in the middle of having the dining in restrictions, so that's been interesting, but it's also been a bit of a godsend because, we would anticipate being very busy moving into a new location in a more central area, so it's giving us a chance to kind of break ourselves in a little bit, which is nice. But on the other hand, everybody's anxious to get going, we're anxious to just move along in a safe manner, but getting back to the business that we are, like for me, it's kind of part of me, right? So it's been really hard to try to temper those things with all the restrictions that we have in place. And it's like somebody, like a horse, holding them back the reins. He just wants to run, So that's kind of like where I think everybody in this industry feels. We're just kind of holding our breath, just waiting, for the next announcement, for the next, the numbers every day we're watching and we're monitoring all of everything that's happening. So, it's added a lot to our plate because there's a lot to do as a business owner or,
a lot to do without a lot of business.
Yeah, and so we have a lot of extra things that we got to keep our fingers on and keep always ahead of everything, and making sure that we're keeping up to date with all of the new restrictions or regulations and all that kind of stuff. So it's been really tough. The staff has been wonderful and supportive and understanding of all of the things and all the little details that we have to do every day, all the checking in the morning, making our health checks and, the sanitation and all that kind of stuff. It's been, a learning experience. However, most of those things in our industry were being implemented prior to COVID anyway, because that's just the nature of our business. We're food handlers and we deal with the public. So, yeah, it's been a lot.
Well, best of luck. I'm looking forward to being able to visit you in person again at the new location in the Terrace area. Thanks for joining me today, Carly.
You're welcome. Enjoy your day and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks, Carly.
Bye-bye.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.